It's been a day, so I didn't get to record this with the best lighting. But chapter 2, the medical stuff. This whole journey started with a letter from my insurance company, weirdly. Well, not my insurance company, but Medicare, saying, hey, here are the plans that are available. Here's what they do and don't cover. And I saw that the plan I already had covered the chiropractor. Looked at my worker and I said, do you mean I can go to a chiropractor? Is that what that says? She says, yeah. So I made an appointment with a nice gentleman in town. And I started going to the chiropractor. And the first thing they do is they do x-rays. And then they do a functional assessment. You know, how well can you go side? You notice my ear doesn't touch my shoulder. To side. You know, front, back, all that stuff. So, I gotta fiddle with the lighting, hang on. It's in my eyes, but at least you can see me better. Anyway, so, for day one, they do x-rays, they check your functionality, where you're at. And then after a period of time, which is different for every doctor, sorry, I'm petting the kitty, they do another functional assessment to see how far you've progressed. Okay, he's going to sit over there. So, I get my x-rays, and I find out a few things that I didn't know. First of all, my neck was straight. Like, it's supposed to have like a nice natural curve. No, mine, like this. And because it's like this, several things happened. One, I have some disc narrowing in one of the vertebrae in my neck. Two, apparently you can have something called spina bifida occulta, which is one of your bones does not fuse. So it's cartilage. Now you have a bone called an atlas bone. It's a ring, and it's what joins your neck to your skull. And the back of mine is cartilage. So, as a coping mechanism, I guess, my body, like my neck muscles just got really tight here and here, as I said in the first video, which is, great for keeping my head from falling all the time. Not so good for eating, breathing. Yeah, eating and breathing. Also, the way that it was sitting, I used to get migraines at the base of my skull. Since what? He's looking at the door. He hears something. I don't know. There was a lady in the hallway earlier. Anyway, so another coping skill is my head was forward. So it's not like where it's supposed to be. It was like, I don't know where it is at the moment. They don't really do x-rays very often because, radiation and all that. But, so I don't know where I'm at right now with my neck. I don't know how much better it's gotten. But I was switched to a new chiropractor because the one that I was seeing was just a bone guy. A lot of my issues are related to muscles as well. So he referred me to his mentors, husband and wife duo that he bought his clinic from, and they do integrate muscles and bones together. In fact, she wants to see what exercises the spine physical therapist has me doing so that she can tailor my care better. Hi. I didn't see him there till I saw him in the camera. So, so I find out all the stuff about my neck. Then we get to the lumbar because that's my other problem area. There are some issues in the mid-back, but it's mostly muscular because it's been doing the work the whole time, I guess. that the neck and the lumbar were supposed to be doing. Like the middle of my body and my legs and my neck are like trying to hold me upright. It's not really working. So, as far as the lumbar goes, again, disc narrowing, because as long as I can remember, I have had something called lordosis, caused potentially by something called Bertolotti's syndrome, disorder, something like that, which means that the lumbar vertebrae that connect to my pelvis are spatulated. So instead of being those little, rectangular wings that whoop, cat. Instead of being rectangular wings that stick out to either side, mine are what they call spatulated. They look like little spatulas on either side. And this bottom part, as I have gotten older, has fused to my pelvis. I hope you can hear me over his purring. So that puts my sciatic nerve at risk. And I have to do exercises to floss my spinal column and floss my sciatic nerve to keep it moving, because that's how you keep from just getting in loads and loads of pain with Bertolotti's, is you keep moving, because if you stop moving, it's going to fuse even more and even more firmly. So you got to keep moving, got to keep the channels open, because you have a channel in each vertebrae that the spinal cord goes through. That's what the holes are. And I have two places of concern. One is where the cartilage is, where it didn't fuse. I am at risk for, now I assume it takes something extreme to cause this, but the spinal cord can poke out. And I would know if that happened because I'd be able to feel just a bump on the back of my neck that would be my spinal cord. And then they would have to do surgery to like stuff it back in. So, I'm a little nervous about, all those years riding roller coasters that I didn't know. Cliff jumping, I didn't know. I say cliff jumping is more like ledge jumping, like 10 feet, because I was timid. But still, so in addition to the compressed discs and the sway back and the Bertolotti's, I also have floating ribs that are basically the T-Rex arms of floating ribs. The floating ribs are small. Mine are abnormally small. And apparently, this particular spinal deformity is the most rare spinal deformity you can have. There are people whose ribs go like this, and what I have is more rare than that. Okay, Bertolotti's is more common, but I got the rare one. Great. And actually, the more I looked into it, people who have these little bitty floating ribs, the chiropractor said, if you don't know about it, you don't experience any symptoms. And I said, actually, I do. You just explained this thing. So if I am curled forward and I cough or strain, like on the toilet, we all poop, I feel like an organ has popped up under my rib cage. And I could never figure out what was going on. Well, if I don't have very long floating ribs, they're not holding whatever that organ is in place. So it's going to wobble a bit and go where it's not supposed to go. So that's a thing. Also, some children who have little bitty floating ribs fail to thrive. And I remember as a child, my papa telling me to breathe with my belly. Now, me being a child and autistic at that, I thought he meant that my belly was supposed to be the thing that moves when you breathe, out, or, belly goes out when you breathe in and in when you breathe out. That's backwards, but I didn't know. I watched Sister Act. I've seen the scene where Whoopi Goldberg pushes on that girl's stomach and she gets louder, but it didn't click. until pelvic floor physical therapy, when she starts telling me how, the pelvic floor and the abs support the diaphragm, especially if you have teeny tiny floating ribs and a sway back that is pulling your diaphragm down. If you don't know, down is the on position. But through intense physical therapy, first pelvic floor, now spine, I have gotten my lordosis to the point where I am in the high end of the normal curvature. So I no longer register as having lordosis, thanks to physical therapy and probably also the chiropractor. Now, the depressing thing, when I went to the new chiropractor who specializes in muscle and bone and did her functional assessment, which is a little different than his, I got numbers of functionality. Now, as you saw, my neck, I can't touch my ear to my shoulder. Apparently most people can. I didn't know that was a thing. I thought you were just supposed to go towards your shoulder. I didn't know that a lot of people can just, without shrugging, do this. I can't do that. And that's because my neck, and the goal that we're aiming for is 80%. Minimum 80%. Now up and down, back and forth, that is 70% range of motion. Side to side is 40%, y'all. So that's not the worst part, though. The worst part is the lumbar. One of the tests that she gave me is, you're getting fur all over this shirt, dude, and it already sheds. It's a tunic with pockets, and it wasn't that expensive. I love it. We'll get to that in the fashion episode. But one of the things that had me do was sit in a chair, not use my hands, and stand up. I'm like, okay, that sounds easy. Had to do it X number of times, and then they would time how long that took. So she gets ready with her little stopwatch, and she says, whenever you're ready. And I went, I couldn't get out of the chair without using my hands. I had to scoot to the edge of the chair just to do the test. And that turns out that my lumbar, my pelvic floor, after over a year of physical therapy, is at 20%. 80 is where we're aiming for. This is 40. My lumbar's at 20. I looked at my orthopedist and I said, what? Where was I at before? 5%? And he looked me in the eye and he said, yeah, probably. Your back was really curvy when we met. How was I doing anything at 5%? So my entire life, my legs and my rib cage and my neck have been trying to keep me, and my obliques have been trying to keep me vertical. And something was about to give, because the Bertolotti's was going to get worse, and I was going to be, bedridden if I hadn't started pelvic floor PT. That's where most of my recovery has started, was pelvic floor PT, because I have pelvic floor dysfunction. We won't get into why, because family, dirty laundry, skeletons, whatever. But I have pelvic floor dysfunction. I've had it my whole life. Like, before I could walk, I had pelvic floor dysfunction. So I never knew how to walk properly. I didn't know how to breathe properly. And then Papa, who was a theater actor, tried to help me, and I still did it wrong. So, after a year, more than a year, I'm at 20%. And I had a setback because I broke my tailbone. Luckily, the break, since the last time he saw me, has shifted closer to normal alignment. It hasn't gone further off. It's actually gotten closer to where it should be, which is great. I don't know about the scoliosis. Like I said, they gave me a lift and they're like, okay, as you can feel your hips leveling out, take some layers out of the lift. And I'm like, I'm numb from here down. How do I know when to remove the lift? So I'm relying on the spine guy, the spine physical therapist, to look at, because he says he can look at like where my, like I put my fingers on the hip bones and then he can see what I can't see. And then he can tell me when to remove a layer. They are also making me custom orthotics because I have what is called a Morton's foot, which I have always called a Greek foot, which means that your big toe is not the longest toe on your foot. The second toe is. The problem with this is that oftentimes your body wants to put the weight here. And these are not designed to carry your weight. This one is supposed to carry most of your weight. By the way, this is what my foot looks like. Because, as Morton theorized, the big toe is hypermobile. Now, somebody else came along and said, well, you're probably just walking like this. If this was hypermobile, everything else would be hypermobile. Hi, I have loose ligaments. Have I mentioned hypermobile? Everybody says it's great to be as flexible as I am. And I'm like, yeah, unless I'm trying to walk. But, so this is a normal foot. All the toes nice and neat in a row. But I have a Morton's foot with hyperextension. Or not hyperextension, hyperflexion. That thing that I said. Hypermobility. So if you were to touch my foot, you can't see this because, there's skin here on a foot. But this is what my foot looks like. So as I'm walking, instead of walking like this, which, you'd put weight here evenly across, I'm walking kind of like this. So they're going to make me an insert to drop the big toe down and try to get it to do its job, basically. And I have to wear shoes in my apartment. I'm a germaphobe, and I have to wear shoes in my apartment. But I have to get my body used to walking the way it's supposed to. A lot of problems start with the feet. Everybody tells you that. And I found I had a very visceral, immediate feel for how true this is. Because my feet are spread across the toe and the ball, I have to wear big shoes. The problem is I have a size small heel. So as I'm trying to walk in the boot, I'm doing this, but my heel is also sliding around because for a shoe to be big enough to fit the ball of my foot, it's too big for the heel of my foot. So she gives me this little gel insert that kind of cups my heel and takes up the extra room on either side. So it just kind of goes like this. It holds my heel. It's like, I got you. And she's all right, okay, stand up. And I stood up and nothing moved. I didn't have to adjust unconsciously. I just stood up. And I almost cried. I said, is this what everyone else feels when they stand up? She said, yeah. And I went, why does everyone take this for granted? It's running long, so I'm going to have to go quickly for this last part. The last part is the throat. Now, I went to speech pathology because food has started to fall down my throat in recent years, and I couldn't figure out why. I'm not going to get into a lot of the reasons why. One of the reasons that food falls down my throat is that I'm missing teeth. don't do that lightly, and I don't like to do, well, in case that bothers you, I'm sorry, but I am missing teeth. 13 teeth, as a matter of fact. A lot of them are back here. And so my tongue is doing the same thing that my heel is doing. My shoe just kind of flopping around going, oh, what do I do? So, food gets up in here, and I might be numb from here down, but I'm hypersensitive from here up. So food gets flung up the back of my throat, and I'm hypersensitive, so I can feel it more, and I cough to try to get it out of my throat. That's one of the million reasons I cough. The other reason that food is falling, or then the other thing with my throat that I thought was connected, it isn't, but it is important, is that anytime I try to run, sing, play an instrument, do any kind of aerobic anything, or if I have an anxiety attack, or if I get really, really mad, my throat just kind of, I can hear it just fluttering. And so what happens is, probably again because of the cartilage in the straight neck, the front 2/3 of my throat and the back third of my throat is going, shit, I'm not designed for this. Help. So I was given some exercises to try to relax all of this. And she asked me what I hoped to get out of this program, the speech pathologist. And I said, well, I want to be able to, run, jump, swim, play an instrument, get mad, and not feel like I'm going to die. And she said, okay, when was the last time you were able to do this? And she's like getting ready to write it down. And I went, never. I've never been able to do that, any of it. I couldn't run, so I rollerbladed. I couldn't play contact sports, so I climbed trees. I just found ways to get around the things I couldn't do. And she's telling me that if I do these exercises, I could run. I could take up a wind instrument. I could try to sing. I could do a martial art that involves jumping. Because that's where I failed when I took martial arts. I did fine, and then they do jumping kicks, and I just couldn't do it. I just felt like I was going to die. And I said, so you mean to tell me that, I'll be vague because I'll be nice, but adults and my ex and teachers and doctors and everyone who said that I was just being overdramatic and attention seeking or whatever, that they were wrong, that I do have a physical thing that I can fix. And she said, yeah, exactly. They were wrong. You're not just overdramatic. You have a dysfunction in your throat muscles that we can fix. And I know that this journey is to find myself, and part of it is femininity. And, playing an instrument, running, playing sports isn't, traditionally feminine. But I might feel more whole if I didn't have to worry every time I had to run that I was just gonna, the what ifs, what if I'm hiking and a mountain lion shows up? I'm screwed. I can't run. But maybe I can. And so that is as much as I can remember of the physical stuff. I will say quickly that the chiropractor has reduced the migraines in the back of my skull where there's cartilage to a 0. I don't get those anymore. I've been able to stand longer. I know it doesn't work for everybody, but, give a chiropractor a try. Do your research, find a reputable one, all that stuff. And physical therapy, you guys, physical therapy has saved my butt. Literally. You don't want to know the details, but I can do that more easily now because of physical therapy with the pelvic floor dysfunction. I can stand longer. I can bend over longer. Like, seriously, guys, physical therapy is the bomb. It saved my hands. Physical therapy and occupational therapy know me by name and face. They see me walk in, they're like, got you checked in. Anything changed? So yeah, I have seen just about every physical therapist there is. I haven't seen a breathing physical therapist, but I am seeing speech pathology, so it's close. But yeah, that is where we are at with the physical stuff. Next time, I think we'll tackle fashion and go through the closet. And oh, good lordy help me, because the dresser was hard enough.